Hello, and thank you for watching this regional forecast for the Western U.S. I'm Andrew Pritchard, Senior Meteorologist with the Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, I'm going to start off with a look at the satellite picture here from Goes East because I want to just point out Hurricane Teddy making its way east of Maine up into Nova Scotia this morning in the Canadian Maritimes with a bit of a front extending back from there. Thunderstorm activity along that front through the Caribbean south of Florida to where we've got Tropical Storm Teddy going on here across parts of eastern Texas, eastern Oklahoma, moving into the southern U.S. as we head through the next few days. All kinds of cool and dry air funneling in on the backside here. Just a really cool animation here, just showing the fluid nature to the atmosphere here across the eastern half of the country. Now, as we pivot off to the west, we've got a similar thing going here. It's not a hurricane, but we have a very well-defined area of low pressure in the Gulf of Alaska. You can see the spiral feeding around there. Very strong jet stream winds screaming across the Pacific Ocean here, blasting into parts of the Pacific Northwest into western Canada. Now, this has brought some precipitation, badly needed precipitation, to portions of western Washington, western Oregon, even some of that making it into the Sierras here across central California into central and northern portions of Nevada. Now, much of that came last week into the weekend. As we look at the last 3 days, it's been a little bit drier. We did see some residual precipitation across western Washington within the last 3 days. But we've got another wave that, again, is just kind of waiting off the shore here. If we just look across the Aleutian Islands into the Gulf of Alaska, this core of very strong jet stream winds is about to make its way into the Pacific Northwest. And that's going to induce a pattern change here across North America. It's going to take several days to get there, but we're headed for a big change, one that spells a return to heat here across the western half of the country. Now, as we look at this, as we head into Wednesday, getting into Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, this is when the first wave starts to make its way ashore. You see the very strong jet stream winds now blasting the Pacific Northwest and British, kind of southern British Columbia there. And it's going to happen in several waves. So there's the first wave that makes its way in. You see this other little ripple right there. That is going to make its way in here as we get into, as we get into Thursday and Friday. We've got another wave that makes its way around the base then here as we get into the weekend. And then the final push comes here as we get into Saturday and Sunday. That final push helps us dig a big trough here across the central part of the country, across the central and eastern U.S., such that by the time we get to the end of September, the beginning of October, we're going to have a pattern once again that features a big ridge over the western United States, a big trough here across the Great Lakes into the eastern U.S. That's going to funnel a lot of heat back across the west. It's going to bring shots of cool and dry air back into the Midwest. But this is going to be a pattern here that's going to bring us several more days of rainfall opportunities to the Pacific Northwest, some heavy rainfall potentially as we head through the next 4 to 5 days before shutting things back down. Now let's look at a loop here of precipitable water across North America. This is a way of looking at the moisture depth within the profile of the atmosphere. A more simple way of saying that is you stand outside, you look straight up. How much moisture can we wring out of the atmosphere from directly above your head? Now, I want to show you the waves here that hit the Pacific Northwest. We're going to get several shots of Pacific moisture with each wave that rotates around the base of this trough. So if we just kind of hone in on the Pacific Northwest here, you see your first shot come right here. We're watching the green current over there. That's your deep moisture here riding those waves. There's the first one that arrives here. You can see the date, September 23rd, Wednesday. We get that first shot of moisture here Wednesday into Wednesday night. You see it start to fizzle here as we head into Thursday. Then we get another shot. You see it reload. I'm going to take the arrow off there. You see here comes the next one. Now making its way in here as we get into Thursday, late Thursday, into Thursday night, into Friday. We see that one kind of peter out. And then we get the next wave that comes in off the base. I got clicked out of that too soon. I didn't get to finish my story there. Wave number 1. There it is. Here comes the next shot here, now Thursday into Friday morning. And then here comes the final one there. Big blast of moisture here Saturday into Sunday to finish us off. Before there, we shut it down. Now the pattern changes. We get a big surge of cool, dry air into the midsection of the country. Starting to bring some of that dry air back across the Rockies. This is now a dry pattern across the lower 48 and one that's going to feature heat across the western U.S. So now let's look at the precipitation forecast. I just showed it to you indirectly by looking at the each wave of moisture here with the precipitable water forecast matching up with the 500 millibar jet stream winds. So here we go, Tuesday into Wednesday morning now. Here is the next shot of precipitation here. It begins Wednesday. Now going into Wednesday night, lasting into Thursday morning, before starting to kind of taper off late Thursday. Another shot here as we go into Thursday night. Friday, heavy precipitation now, continuing into Friday afternoon, Friday evening. And we get that third final shot here over the weekend, Saturday into Sunday. Before now, as we get into Monday, here's the date up here again, getting into Monday and Tuesday, September 28th, 29th. We're shutting things down now, ridging out again across the western U.S. We'll be talking about heat, we'll be talking about dry conditions, and we'll be talking about a return to some dangerous fire weather conditions as we head into the last days of September, the first days of October. Total precipitation between now and Sunday evening, again, 1 inch to 2 inches of rain here possible across parts of western Oregon, but then you get up towards 3 to 5, maybe locally heavier amounts as you get into western Washington, up the coast into British Columbia, even getting some of that moisture into northern Idaho, western portions of Montana as well. South of this line, though, going to be holding on to dry conditions. So fire weather risk is a little bit lower today, but as we head through tomorrow, along with the dry conditions, some stronger winds, some lower humidity, that's going to have at least a low fire weather risk there in place across southeastern Oregon, northern Nevada, and southwestern Idaho. Here's the transition in the jet stream pattern as we head through days 1 through 5 on the left, days 6 through 10 on the right. And again, we got the trough here. You can kind of see it, the blue shading the trough across western Canada with the ridge off to the south. What I want to draw your attention to is, again, the gradient that we get here between the trough to the north, the ridge to the south. Those are the very strong jet stream winds that are feeding the cooler and rainy active pattern here across the Pacific Northwest. But then as we go into a day 6 through 10, again, transitioning to the ridge in the west, trough in the east. So again, just I'm kind of becoming redundant, repeating myself here. We've got about 5 more days of the moisture kind of being streamed in from the Pacific across the Pacific Northwest before we are going to be talking about heat and dry conditions, fire weather risk here across the entire West as we head into the end of September at the very beginning of October. We'll look at the temperatures here just to kind of wrap things up. Temperature anomalies as we head through the next 10 days. Again, we're a bit warmer than average right now, but as we start to bring in some of the Pacific moisture to the Pacific Northwest, we're going to see temperatures just a bit cooler than average as we get into mid to late week. That's just going to be because of the cloud cover and rainfall. Those are the basic words that I'm looking for. But when we get on the other side of that, towards the end of the weekend into early next week, here's that pattern setting back up. Cool air starts to sink into the Central Plains on the east side of the Rockies. West of the Rockies, we will be baking again. Temperatures anywhere from 10 to 20 degrees warmer than average as we finish September and begin the month of October. Your next 5 days, high temperatures anywhere from the 60s and 70s across the coast right now to the mid to upper 80s across the Central Rockies. Very similar look as we head into Wednesday. Thursday, there are those cooler temperatures across the Pacific Northwest to making their way into the Rockies as we head into the weekend. Similar conditions on Sunday, but then as we head into Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and onward into the middle and late part of next week, look for the heat to turn back on across the western half of the country.